There are so many different risottos. This one is one of my top 5 risottos, prawn risotto. It is so delicious and very simple to put together. I'm not going to use a standard stock. What I'm going to do is make my own stock and not waste anything from the prawn. So you can see that I've peeled all my prawns over here lovingly. You want to make sure you devein all of them, but don't throw away all the heads and the shells because they make the best stock for this risotto. So some olive oil in a saucepan. So for this recipe, I'm using a saucepan and also 28 centimetre pan, which comes in a stackable 12-piece set. This is fantastic because it's such a space saver. So you want this to be super, super hot. It also comes with a removable handle, so we'll place that on now and we'll just swirl that around. Once it starts to smoke, we're going to add all our shells. So you want that good sizzle because that sizzle means that we're caramelising all of those shells, basically getting all of that flavour out. So just give them a toss and you want them to change colour before we add any liquid. But we can also add at this stage a bay leaf and some tomato paste. The tomato paste is going to give this a beautiful pinkish colour. And whenever you're using that tomato paste, you do want to cook it off. So add it at this stage and then just cook this for a few moments. So water now, and we're going to pour that in. You want about 1.5 to 2 litres of water to completely submerge all of the shells. I'll give that a little swirl. And you don't need to add any salt when you're making stock. Don't forget those shells are from the sea, so they're going to be naturally salty, so no salt whatsoever. And this is going to cook now for about 15 to 20 minutes, then I'm going to strain it. In the meantime, I'm just going to do a little more prep for this risotto. I've got 2 cloves of garlic here, I want them finely chopped. Look how gorgeous this prawn stock looks. It's reduced, it smells wonderful. So we're ready to make our risotto. In a large pan, we're going to add a good glug of extra virgin olive oil. And I really want to emphasise a large pan because you want some space so we get beautiful even heat throughout the rice. So it cooks faster and it cooks evenly. So I'll add my onion, and that's been finely chopped, along with our finely chopped garlic. And I always like to add a pinch of salt at this stage too. And just let that sweat for a moment before we add our rice. Now for the rice, you're going to need 1.5 cups. You can use carnaroli rice or just classic arborio rice for this. I'm going to roughly measure this out, so about 1.5 cups, just about that. And now we can add this. So we'll just give that one last toss and then in with our rice. When you're using arborio rice for a risotto, you don't need to wash it because in actual fact, we want that starchiness from the short grain rice to give us that gorgeous glossy finish and that creaminess to the risotto. So we'll give it a stir, coat it in the onion, and because we've got a large pan like this, it's always much easier just to toss it like so. We'll deglaze with some white wine. And because I'm using prawns, if you didn't want to use white wine, vermouth is a really nice addition too. So either or, depending on what you've got at home. Another little toss and just allow that rice to bubble away and absorb some of that wine. You do want to cook it off slightly because you don't want the raw flavour of the wine. Now for our gorgeous stock. So you can measure it out if you like, or what I like to do is just grab a sieve and a ladle. And I've turned the heat off the stock, but I've kept it warm because you want hot stock to your risotto. So in with a few ladlefuls to start with, 3 or 4 ladlefuls. And then we're going to cook this for about 15 to 20 minutes, constantly adding more stock so it absorbs it. Agitate the pan so everything stirs in together and cooks. We want that rice to be just al dente. So keep tasting it and checking it. risotto is looking so good. You can see how the rice is almost doubled in size. It's absorbed all that beautiful prawn stock. So we're almost at the finish line with this one. The rice is al dente, so we can now add our prawns. The prawns take no time at all to cook. Now, you would have noticed that I've chopped some of my prawns and left others whole. So let's add the whole ones first. This is purely for presentation. I want to show that this is a prawn risotto by leaving some whole on the plate, but I also want to mix through some prawn meat. So every mouthful of risotto you get a little bit of prawn. So in with the small pieces too, and we'll grab our wooden spoon and just fold that through. And we're going to add some butter. So we want the butter to be quite cold because we just want it to really slowly melt into our risotto. So I'll add about 10 grams of butter, cut it into cubes, and we'll just dot it in the risotto, and now we turn it off. So it's going to continue cooking in the pan. So you just want to allow that to just gently come together. I think there's something very therapeutic about cooking risotto at home. In fact, when I've got friends coming over, I don't mind cooking this in front of them because it's like a little dance. You've got to add a bit of stock, keep an eye on it, and it just gently, gently comes together to turn into this beautiful, beautiful dish. Now for some cheese, some Parmesan cheese. Now, I know there's a lot of people out there that would disagree with adding some Parmesan with a seafood, but I think it's necessary just to season it very slightly, and also it just helps bind everything together. I'm not adding the Parmesan cheese to taste the cheese. It's really for that texture. So you only need a small amount of that over the top. And our last fold through. And everyone that has taught me to make risotto always serves it on a plate, so it just forms a perfect circle, so it's not in a big bowl. Why? Because it just continues to cook if you add it to a bowl because of the depth of it. So a nice thin layer of this risotto, and in order to flatten it out, just tap it on the base. Spread that out. Look at that, gorgeous. See those little nuggets of prawns, fantastic. Don't forget the larger prawns. We're going to just place a few on the top, depending on how generous you are with it. And to finish this off, some really good quality extra virgin olive oil for that sheen over the top. And that is a beautiful risotto. The pure flavour of that rice and prawns works so nicely, cooked to perfection.